The Chicago Cubs have their star. We finally have a star in Kyle Tucker. Guys, I'm going live from Hawaii, and I want to thank you for joining the setup, man. There's probably a lot of people going live right now. This is an extremely exciting trade, and you chose to come to the setup, man, to get all the details, all the information. And honestly, I just want to have some initial reactions from myself, but also from all of you out there. We're going to go over some things. So I'm going to give you my initial thoughts. I'm going to show you what baseball trade value says about this trade. We're going to compare it to a couple trades that you could say are like this, just to put things in perspective for you. And we're also going to open up not only what does this look like for a projected lineup, but what does this look like for other opportunities for the Cubs. And honestly, I'm keeping Twitter right next to me. So please, if you're keeping Twitter next to you, you see any notifications come through, like i.e. Cody Bellinger going to the Yankees, we're ready to break that here. Let's go. A couple comments here already. Justin Martin's Cubs Jet did a thing. Come on, from popcorn and milk. Let's go. King Tuck, says Steven Dunn. Guys, all of you, thanks for being here. So first of all, just tell me, actually, let me break this down for you really quick of what is going to happen. So yes, the Cubs did get Kyle Tucker. They are going to be pending physicals, so it's not completely official yet. But what is Houston getting? We kept on hearing Cam Smith. We kept on hearing Isak Paredes. There was some talks about Seiya Suzuki as well, but it ended up being Paredes, Smith, and Hayden Wesneski. And according to Bruce Levine, by the way, I think Jeff Passan was the one to break this. It looks like on my Twitter feed here that Jeff Passan was the first one to say that it was a deal. But Bruce Levine said that Hayden Wesneski was that last piece that Houston really wanted / needed to be able to make this thing go through. So I just got to ask you, what do you think about that? What do you think about Kyle Tucker, a superstar that the Cubs finally can put a face on the organization if he extends? What do you think about it just right now as is? It's a 1-year control deal for one of our top prospects. I believe Cam Smith was number 7 overall. Sorry if I'm misquoting that. I'm pretty sure it was number 7 overall. And then he's right around 73rd, I believe, on the MLB Top 100, along with a third baseman in Isak Paredes, who really did not do very much for the Cubs, and then Hayden Wesneski, who's been up and down. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Let's just go ahead and take some comments right now. And Popcorn and Milk says, Smith is the only piece I'm upset about losing, but going and getting Tucker is incredible, so I don't care. Yes, it's kind of where I'm at as well. Steven says, I absolutely love the trade. I hope an extension, hope to get an extension, but even if we don't, Tucker makes this team more serious, and I want to take the damn division and compete in the playoffs. Absolutely, brother. James, 1-year control is an overpay, but at least they're doing something. So we're going to go over if it's an overpay, if not, depending on the numbers, also depending on our feelings, right? A lot of it is just based on feelings. And I do feel like it could be a little bit of an overpay, but you go and you get this guy. Are we back? 100, says Trash Panda. We've got from Maxwell, Hat, PCA, Tucker, Seiya is lethal, deepens the entire lineup, 100%. And then Justin Martin says, good deal. Cam, it kind of sucks, meaning that sucks. We have to lose him, but just a prospect. Fine with Paredes and Wesneski. Bring up Shaw, put him at third base. Okay, here's my reactions. And please keep on putting in the comments what your reaction is. I want to hear what your thoughts are. We're going to be here for probably about 15, 20 minutes in case another deal breaks, because Bleacher Nation said, hey, over under 3.5 minutes that it takes for Cody Bellinger's deal to break right after the Kyle Tucker deal break. So my first initial reactions, and I want to ask you, is this a top 10 trade in Cubs history? Do you think this is a top 10 trade in Cubs history? Just to give you a few that were on an MLB.com article. Number 10, Derek Lee from the Marlins. Number 9 was that Anthony Rizzo for Andrew Kashner from the Padres. Getting all of the players from the Pirates in 2003 from Kenny Lofton, Aramis Ramirez, and Randall Simon. You've got Rick Sutcliffe. You've got a couple others here. You know, you got the Jake Arrieta and Pedro Strop trade. You've got the Sammy Sosa trade. Where does this rank for you? The Rhino trade was the number one, getting him from the Phillies for Larry Boa and Ryan. And the Cubs got Larry Boa and Ryan Sandberg. They sent Ivan DeJesus out. I'm just getting tons of notifications on Twitter right now, so I really don't want to miss anything. If you see anything about any other deals coming through or any more information about these deals, please drop it in the comments. I can only do so many things at once here. So do you think this is a top 10 Cubs trade in Cubs history? And what I would like to do just really quickly to show you what and put this in perspective a little bit is let's just bring up baseball trade values and see what it says about this trade. And it's going to show you exactly what a lot of people have said already, that the Cubs didn't overpay. But guess what? It's Kyle Tucker. And this is, to me, what we were originally hearing was going to be Seiya plus Cam Smith or Matt Shaw plus Isaac Paredes. And that didn't make sense. That was a massive overpay. So when you look at Isaac Paredes has the highest value, yes, he has the highest value according to baseball trade values in terms of surplus because of the amount of control he still has and the fact that he is a proven Major League Baseball player. But he's not that valuable to the Cubs because we saw it at Wrigley Field. He could not, that swing, that pull heavy fly ball swing to a deep left field at Wrigley Field does not work. It was miserable for him. I think he had one home run at home in the second half. So there's tons of value for the Astros. A routine pop out to left field at Wrigley is now a home run at Minute Maid Park. So that's huge value that we aren't really giving up, but huge value that the Astros are able to get. So to me, that was the part of the deal that really made this like, yeah, sure, baseball trade values doesn't like it. But while Paredes might have that 28.8 surplus value to the Astros, to the Cubs, I would put it maybe even less than Hayden Wesneski. Maybe just because he has a good glove, which we really didn't see last year either. I would say that Isaac Paredes was probably that one player that because he had so much value for the other team and so little value for us, this made it worth it. Cam Smith, 17.5 on the surplus plus Hayden Wesneski, 6.4. That puts the Astros getting 52.7, while Kyle Tucker his return value is 31.4. And that's mainly just because of the fact that Kyle Tucker doesn't have a lot of control left. If we just look at his overall value, let's see if we can click on him. Let's go to the Astros. His overall value, it's not going to show it here. That's Ryan. Why is Ryan Presley there? Let's bring up Kyle Tucker again. Let's just go to Tucker. His overall value, AFV, is 47.2, which is going to be probably right around similar to what you get from Isaac Paredes and Hayden Wesneski. AFV only counts for major league players. It doesn't count for minor league players. So Cam Smith doesn't have any AFV. Adjusted field value is what that stands for. So while baseball trade values does not like this, my initial reaction here is, number one, like I said, these players, especially Isaac Paredes, had a lot of value for the Astros, but not as much value for the Cubs. And what I would say in regards to the Cam Smith thing, he's not a star yet. You have a proven, this guy, Kyle Tucker, even though he only played half a season this last year, this is a top 10 positional player right now in baseball. Cam Smith could become a top 10 positional player in baseball, but it's going to take 2 or 3 years. And you could have another Brennan Davis situation. You could have another Felix PA situation. You could have another Corey Patterson situation. You could have another Matt Mervis situation. There's so many things that could go wrong between now and Cam Smith actually making it to the major leagues that if you look back and you say, remember when we had the opportunity to send out Cam Smith for Kyle Tucker and we said no, and now he's not even on the Cubs or he's not a major league player, you're going to be kicking yourself in the foot. So to me, you have to take these risks. And this is where Jed was at. He had to make a deal. So Wesneski, he hasn't developed as quickly as we all had hoped. We thought after that really great 2022 season where he came on for the Scott Efros trade that he was going to be an ace for the future. Just never really happened. He had some flashes, but in Minute Maid Park, honestly, I think in Minute Maid Park, he might even struggle more than he did at Wrigley. So we'll see what happens there. The negatives to me here is that it sucks that it's a 1-year rental, right? Can we just be honest for a second? It's a 1-year rental. It could end up being more. He could end up surprising us. Kyle Tucker did come out and say, I am not extending with whatever team I get traded to because I want to test out the free agent market. I get that, but I also wonder if that is a tactic for him to come in, have a great April, have a great May, and the Cubs say, hey, are you sure that you really want to leave here? You're liking the teammates, you're liking the city, you're liking the results. Why don't we just ink this thing right now? So that would be wonderful. I also think the way that Jed operates and the way that Tom is making Jed operate, I don't think that they would try to do the extension in the offseason, because what if, God forbid, what if this team is miserable coming to the trade deadline in July and Kyle Tucker is having another all-star season, and now you have that opportunity to say, okay, we got rid of a bunch of guys, we took our chance, but now let's get a bunch of talent back, or MLB ready talent back. So for that reason, I don't think that I don't think Jed is going to be aggressive at trying to extend Kyle Tucker, just knowing what Tom says for him. What do you think? Do you think that the Cubs should extend him now? Do you think they should wait until May or June when it looks like they're either in the lead for the division or Kyle Tucker is liking it here? At the end of the day, this is a guy that you build your team around. I think that that's what should happen. However, knowing how Jed operates, I don't think that that's how they're going to operate. Let's take a second to see what some people say for this. So James says, sounds like more of a hope and pray. What trade isn't? What trade is not a hope and pray? Look at what the Yankees did. We're going to compare these trades in a second. Look what the Yankees did to get Juan Soto. Yeah, they made it to the World Series, but they lost major talent. They hoped and prayed. He had a good season, and now he's gone. So, where will Cody go? Cody's going to the Yankees. I can't imagine that he's not going to the Yankees even as early as today. So still don't have anything on that yet. Pastor Scott says, terrible trade for a guy for 1 year. Another stupid trade by the Cubs. Gave up way too much. This will bite them in a year. Yeah, but Pastor Scott, what do you do right now? The Cubs need a superstar. Do you want another 83 win season where you just say, hey, Jed put the average lineup out there? This is something that gives you the superstar that you need. And that's not something I think that we can argue right now. This team needs a superstar. If you don't think the Cubs need a superstar, I don't think that you're living in a reality right now of what Major League Baseball is. No offense, but that to me is the biggest thing. You look at every single playoff team this year, they have superstars. They have that guy, whether it's a pitcher or a positional player, and the Cubs just don't have that. So we're going to go over what I think is going to be the projected lineup here. I do see who will bat behind Tucker, says Kim Hill. We'll go over that in a second. So here's what I want to do really quick here is I do want to just put this in perspective based on some recent trades. And then we'll wrap this thing up with a few other thoughts and projected lineups. Let's compare this to the Juan Soto trade from the Yankees to the Yankees from the Padres. The Padres got a future ace who was a major player throughout the entire 2024 season and in the playoffs in Michael King. They got Drew Thorpe, who they then sent to the White Sox for Dylan Cease. They got Johnny Brito, who was a rookie and had some success with the Yankees. They got Randy Vasquez, who at the time was a top 100 prospect. And then they got Kyle Higashioka. Hey, finally figured out how to pronounce that name. Kyle Higashioka was a veteran catcher and was able to slot in and be a major contributor for the Padres in year one. That was what they sent to the Padres for a 1-year rental. That would be, think of this for a second. That would be like us sending, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head, going back to 2023 when we were looking at what would it take to get Juan Soto. That would be like sending Cade Horton would be our version of Michael King. Drew Thorpe, I don't know much about him. I know he was good enough to send for Dylan Cease. So let's just call that, I don't know. Is it Ben Brown? Probably not as good as Ben Brown, but maybe like Jackson Wiggins or Jackson Ferris, right? Johnny Brito, don't know much about him, but he was a rookie in 23. So just name any rookie that had like a mid-4 ERA, which is where I think he was at, and sending him a top 100 prospect, call it at the time Jefferson Rojas, maybe. And then a veteran catcher, that would be Yan Gomes. That's how much it took to send Juan Soto to would have been to send him to the Cubs. That's what the Yankees gave up. So when you think about that, Okay, Kyle Tucker is not Juan Soto. Juan Soto is top 3 MLB player. Kyle Tucker is not, but Kyle Tucker is a top 10 MLB position player. So when you look at it that way, one prospect. We gave one prospect. We gave up one third baseman that is not going to be of any value to the Cubs based on how he played in the second half of the season. And I think that was the writing on the wall. And then Hayden Wesneski, how excited were you for Hayden Wesneski for this year? There's still so many question marks around him. The Garrett Crochet trade, by the way, which just happened recently. Now Garrett Crochet has a lot more control, but there was a top 55 prospect in Braden Montgomery. There was a top 25 prospect in Kyle Teal. And then the organization had 2 top 15 prospects. They shipped out a ton for Garrett Crochet. Again, the big difference there, a lot more control. So I personally think when you look at those 2 trades, especially the Juan Soto one, would I have liked it to be just Isaac Paredes and just, let's call it Kevin Alcantara or Owen Casey? Yeah, for sure. Especially, I don't really know personally why the Astros didn't make a MLB ready outfielder a priority. They have their top prospect is an outfielder, but he's number 89 prospect. And I've heard from some people that he's kind of like Kevin Alcantara, but I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't also try to get like an Owen Casey or a Kevin Alcantara out of that. That was kind of confusing to me. But when I put that into perspective, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. What's the difference between Tucker and Bellinger, though? They really seem like the same player, except Bellinger is a little versatile defensively. Huge difference, Adam Gillespie. It's a great question, but it is a huge difference. Kyle Tucker, OPS plus. I believe Matt Cozy posted it from Locked On Cubs the other day. I believe he's number 7. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know. Number 7 in OPS plus since 2021. Cody Bellinger has had one good year since 2019, and it was with the Cubs. And he had an 880 OPS. Okay. Kyle Tucker hasn't been, I don't believe he's been under 900 for an OPS. I'm just going to bring up his stats right now so I don't misquote that. Kyle Tucker in the last 3 years, OPS 917. Okay, in 22 he was 808. In 23 he was 886, but in 2024 he was 993. Now, keep in mind for a second, and I'm looking at Baseball Reference only, keeping in mind that this is a player that even though you could look at the numbers, you can say like, well, what's to say that we wouldn't have gotten that out of Bellinger? Well, he was a 5.7 WAR player, 5.4 and 5.4 from 21 to 23. He was a 4.7 Baseball Reference WAR player in just 78 games in 2024. This was a guy who had a breakout season, but only played for half the year for an injury that is not going to concern the Cubs for the future. It's done with. It's in the past. And he's been a all-star in 3 straight years, and he was MVP vote getter in 3 of those 4 years. Cody Bellinger, you cannot say that about him. Plus, one of the underrated things that a lot of people are not talking about is Kyle Tucker can steal bases better than Cody Bellinger. He had 30 stolen bases in 2023 when Cody Bellinger had 20. And he's a Gold Glove right fielder in 2022 and a Silver Slugger in 2023. The accolades, the age, the reputation over the last 3 to 4 years is unmatched. This is a top player in baseball. Big Mike says we kept the guys we wanted to keep. Kim Hill, I hope they trade Bellinger so I don't have to hear or see people calling him Belly anymore. Okay. I'm just looking really quickly here. Do we have any more news? As of the moment, here's what the Cubs lineup looks like. Kyle Tucker star. If you see anything else on Twitter, please let me know because I'm giving you my thoughts right now. It's tough to keep up with Twitter while I'm doing this. Who do you think is the next move? Says the kid. It's definitely Cody Bellinger. If the Cubs do not trade Cody Bellinger today, I would be absolutely shocked. It should happen probably in the next day or so. Missed 3 months with a fractured shin. Yes, Patrick. And that is already healed and good to go. Is Shaw the new third baseman? Great question. Let's go ahead and transition into what this also means for the Cubs. So that was my number one thing. With Isaac Paredes out, I think this opens up Shaw at third base. When you look at free agents, there's really no other third baseman aside from Alex Bregman that you know the Cubs are not going to go out and spend money for. I don't think. So it would either be Shaw at third base to start the season, or it'd be a trade. And a lot of this also depends on, is Nico Horner ready at second base for the season? Is Nico Horner even on the team to start the season? I do think this drops the likelihood of Nico Horner going into a trade with the Mariners, just because you don't really want to say, okay, well, Nico's gone. Now we've got Triantos at second and Matt Shaw at third. I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. I think if you're the Cubs, you say Matt Shaw seems MLB ready, but James Triantos we see more as a piece, a positional replacement when Nico is hurt. So I could see Shaw at third and Triantos at second just for the first week while Nico is getting ready. We still don't know what that timeline is going to be, though. But I would not be surprised if there was a trade for a third baseman, because Matt Shaw, while he is ready to go, if you put, we've seen it in the past, you put that kind of pressure on a third base, on a prospect to produce right away at the major leagues without any sort of backup, it doesn't always go so well. Matt Shaw seems like a guy that would probably be successful right away, but we thought the same thing about a lot of guys, right? Bellinger definitely to the Yankees is what I also think is next. And what that does, right? Kyle Tucker, right around $16 million for this next year. If the Cubs dump Bellinger's contract, I know, Steven, you're on this and you're not a big proponent of doing that, but think about this for a second. All right. You've got Kyle Tucker in right. You've got Seiya at DH. You got PCA in center. You got Happ in left. So that means Bellinger is the odd man out. Seiya and Happ have no trade clauses. PCA is your future center fielder. There's no one else except for Bellinger. You could say, put Bellinger at first, trade Michael Busch. It's not going to happen because Busch has so much control, and Bellinger is going to be owed a ton of money next year too if he opts back in. And I just don't see Tom Ricketts being okay with that, especially if they're going to go get a shot at extending Kyle Tucker. So what does that mean? That means that if you dump the $27.5 million and take on the $16 million from Tucker, you've got about another $11 million to work with, putting the Cubs right around the first luxury threshold is 241. The Cubs would be right around, I believe at that point, 191, but they don't like to go into the season right at that. A lot of experts are saying they would want to go in about 10 million short of that. So putting that at 231, that means they're about $40 million short of the threshold. That doesn't include a deal that is still yet to go official with Carson Kelly. I would imagine that would be in the neighborhood of 7.5, 8 million. So for that reason, you're looking at maybe an extra $33 million that the Cubs have to deal with before the season starts. So do they get a starter? Maybe Jack Flaherty. Flaherty, you would expect, probably would get the same kind of deal as like an Evaldi in the $25 million range. I don't think they do that. I think they still, if they're going to get a starter, still think it's going to be via a trade. Do they trade for a third baseman? Do they go get a reliever like Tanner Scott or Jeff Hoffman? I think there's a lot of opportunities here. None of them that are going to be as big as Kyle Tucker, but it does open up a lot of opportunities here. What do you think? What do you think would be the next move if the Cubs go and they trade Cody Bellinger? They have that extra $11 million. Do you think that they go and spend that on a starter, a third baseman, in a trade, or a reliever? Or heck, do they do something shocking again, like maybe trading Nico Horner? Let me know what you think. All right, here's what I've got for a projected lineup, which I'm just going to go ahead and upload this really quickly because I forgot to do that before. And I didn't even download it. Let's just see if we can share my screen here, and we'll just do it that way. This is what I project as, and no, I got to close that out. This is going to look goofy, but I want to share this. So if I were to think, and I want to know what you guys think as well, if we were to talk about the projected lineup today, what do you think it's going to look like? And let me share that part of my screen. Stop share screen, present, and let's go right here. Yeah, this is what I've got. You tell me, you like this? I've got Happ leading off. I got Nico at second base, and I've got Tucker in right field. Right there, you got your back-to-back leading stolen base getters. And then when you flip around the lineup, as you see down at the bottom there with PCA batting eighth, you've got essentially 3 legitimate stolen base threats and about 5 batters. Seiya Suzuki batting fourth at DH, Michael Busch at first base, and then it's Swanson, Shaw, PCA, Amaya. That's what I could easily see, you know, like Nico and Bush switching, where Bush is batting second and Nico is batting fifth. I talked about it with a friend earlier. Ian Happ, still to me, like, I know that seems like the best shot for a leadoff hitter, but when you look at it, his best numbers are batting fifth. So I would love to find a way to get someone at leadoff, PCA or Nico, and slot down Happ into the fifth spot. And thinking about Tucker, Seiya, Happ as your 3 through 5, that's pretty exciting for me. Matt Shaw could, you know, if he lights the world on fire, I could easily see him being a number 2 batter, maybe even a leadoff guy, but I don't think he has the speed. But then again, your leadoff hitter isn't really much of a speed guy these days anyway. That there's not as much emphasis on that these days. What do you think? Do you think this is the lineup? Would you switch anyone? Marquee posted a current lineup. They put Bush at third and Belly at first base. Yeah, but they can't say that Bellinger's gone. In my mind, Bellinger is gone. I'm looking at Twitter right now. If you were to look at this, yeah, Cubs lineup at the moment, according to Marquee: Happ, Tucker, Suzuki, Bellinger, Swanson, Bush, Horner, PCA, Miguel Amaya. So, I mean, we're missing someone here. Happen left. Cody Bellinger at first base. Okay. I mean, yeah, that's unique. That's thinking outside the box. I just don't see Michael Bush going over to third base. I see it being way more likely that that you would have Matt Shaw start at third base or go get someone else. That's what I would think. Let's see. What other comments do we have here as we kind of wrap this thing up? Again, I would like to know from you guys, what do you think that next move is? Do you think it's Bellinger to the Yankees? Do you think it's going to be a Nico trade? Do you think it's going to be signing a reliever? Do you think it's going to be finalizing the catcher of Carson Kelly? What do you think? Jeff Passan just tweeted, Kyle Tucker is among the most underrated players in baseball. In 78 games last year, he put up more than a 4 WAR, hitting 289 with a 408 on base and a 585 slugging with 23 home runs and 11 stolen bases. Since getting full-time at bats in 2021, he has been a consistent 5-win player. He is precisely what the Cubs needed. Couldn't have said that better. A few more comments here. Chicago should pull a boss move. Oh, wait, I just lost it. Chicago should pull a boss move, says Robert Festa, and get Bregman or have the Cardinals eat a lot of Nolan's contract. I do not think the Cardinals would trade Nolan Arenado to the Cubs, and I would love Alex Bregman, but now that you're looking at a guy like Kyle Tucker that you would want to try to extend, I just don't see them going out and getting another guy that's going to cost over $30 million per year. Let's see. Gabriel Trujillo. Kyle Tucker is thrilled to be joining the Cubs. I've already talked to some of Tucker's people, and he is beyond thrilled to be joining what he said was an iconic franchise. That was from Jesse Rogers of ESPN. Stephen Dunn says, pass. I don't want Bregman. I don't like cheaters. Oh, man. Yeah, let's not go down that rabbit hole right now. Let's see. Any other comments that I want to share before we leave here, or any other thoughts? I've got my notes here. I think personally, just to evaluate this, Baseball Trade Values is not going to like this trade. A lot of Cubs fans are not going to like this trade because of Cam Smith, but you had to go out if you were Jed Hoyer and get a star player this offseason to save your job. And Cubs fans have been wanting it. Like, Cubs fans, we can't have our cake and eat it too. We can't have all the star players and keep the prospects. We have to use the prospects to get the stars, or we have to say the prospects are the stars and we're going to build around them and we're going to bring them up right now. And that plan B, what I just said right there, it's not possible for the next 2 years because of all these contracts, from Nico to Happ to Seiya to Bellinger to all these guys that would be quote unquote blocking the prospects. So you have to, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Keep these guys all at AAA for the next 2 years and be like, one day we'll just shift everything and have you come in? No, you have to pick and choose. And Cam Smith, unfortunately, that's the one that the Astros wanted. I would have loved to say, no, let's give you Casey, let's give you Alcantara, let's give you Triantos, but they wanted Cam Smith. So what are you going to do? If you want a generational I keep saying generational player. That's really Juan Soto. Let's call it one of the top 10 positional players in baseball, which the Cubs need. You need to be willing to give up and take a risk. We might all be talking here next year and being like, remember when we gave up that trade and Kyle Tucker, didn't even play at all last season, or he played like crap, or yada, yada, yada. Yeah, but those are the risks that have to be taken. And I would like to see Jed and crew start making more of those risks. Who knows? This could be the start of a flurry of deals. Eloy Jimenez, remember him? Yes, Patrick, great point. Eloy Jimenez, it was a top prospect, a power hitter like Cam Smith. He had a couple good years, and now he's nothing. What if that's the same path for Cam Smith? I hope it's not. Kid seems like a good kid. I think he's going to be good. Let me know what you think. If you're watching this on replay, let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for joining. Let's go ahead and keep our eyes on Twitter and see what else the Cubs have left to go. Talk to you guys later, Setup Nation.